Hey guys, we're back here, and this is our this is what we like to call the dirty cave. This is where we do the grip work. Shaping grips is I'm not gonna say it's not fun, but it's definitely dirty. We get cork dust everywhere. Shaping EVA is even less fun. The dust is more fine. It gets in your eyes and everything. One thing I always like to do when I'm shaping grips, though, I always come out and bring out the seat that I'm going to be using and make sure that everything kind of lines up well with the diameters for the foregrip and the rear grip, especially on casting seats. You can see that this has an opening at the end that's obviously wider than the blank. So it would be kind of shitty if we had these tiny little grips that tapered in underneath that recess, or the other side is if we had them way oversized and you've got this giant pressure on your hand when you're palming your reel. So I like to bring the seat out and make sure that everything lines up. Obviously there's many different sizes of seats and rods and everything, so not all grips are alike, especially the way we do it. We like to hand turn all of our grips, all of our cork grips, just to give it a unique custom look. So with that, I'm going to get started. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get these on our mandrel. And to do that, we just use that hand drill to get them started on there. Okay, and there we've got our fighting butt. Okay, let's give it a test fit. See how we're looking. Okay, not bad, not bad. I think that is good. So we'll go ahead and take it down to some finer grit and get a nice smooth finish on it, and then we'll go on to our foregrip. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's see how we're looking. So, okay, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Okay. Okay guys, next we're going to remount these grips that we just shaped. As you can see, I changed locations. The mosquitoes were getting really bad back in the old dirty cave, so we came to the slightly less dirty garage. Now before we get into using the reamers, I'm going to point out something else that we like to use. Let me get one that's a little more obvious. So these are priceless. These save us so much time, and all it is they're paddle bits. These are from Bosch. We get them on Amazon real cheap, and the little threaded pilot bit that's on the front of those there, we just take an aluminum rod, You can usually find them at the hardware store, or you know, we get them off Amazon as well. Cut a little 1-inch piece, thread it onto that that little pilot bit on there, and turns your paddle bit into a coring bit that is perfect for cork grips, because this aluminum rod is going to keep that thing completely centered. So instead of working your way up through the reamers, if you know your blank's diameter is a certain diameter where that grip's going to be, you can save yourself a lot of time by just coring it out with one of these, and it keeps it totally centered. It doesn't migrate. Obviously, you don't want to overbore it. Otherwise, you got to use tape and arbors and build up some epoxy there. So we try and get it to just under the blank diameter, and then use the reamers to take it the rest of the way and give it the taper. So for these, because we're using a fairly thin diameter blank, we're actually going to start with just a 3/8 paddle bit. The bore on these is a 1/4 inch. So this isn't saving us a ton of time, but it will let us step up to the second largest reamer instead of having to start with the smallest reamer. Now, I will also recommend that if anyone does this, go ahead and put on a glove for the hand that you're going to be holding the grip with. Okay, because if you slip and that paddle bit catches your finger, you either better have some super glue on hand, or you might end up going to the hospital. So, I've marked these with just a little piece of China marker, a little mark on there to indicate which side's the butt end. That way, when I ream it, I don't get mixed up. Dump this from time to time, otherwise that stuff in there will heat up and could carry your cork. Once I'm about 3/4 of the way through, I swap sides. Again, this pilot bit right there, that piece is keeping this thing totally centered. So I can come at it from either direction and get a nice even bore. Okay, so now that we've got at least some of it out of the way, we are going to switch to our reamers. Now, if you're like me and don't like spending money, you are probably going to get the I think these, I call them the standard reamers, but I think they might be referred to as the supreme reamers. They are not the ultimate reamers, which are tungsten carbide and are very expensive and probably the last reamers you'll ever buy. These are just regular little fiberglass mandrels with some low grit sandpaper tape wrapped around them. So we will continue on. Now you guys might be noticing the motion I'm doing. I'm bringing it up to the larger diameter taper, and then I'm backing it back off again, and that's letting some of that material that's getting ground up in there escape and get out of there, so it doesn't just heat up and would essentially snap the reamer. The other thing I'm doing is, as I'm going, I'm letting this free turn periodically. I learned when I first started building these that if you just hold this thing still and you try and just ream it just like this, you're going to get a lopsided bore, and it's going to be your walls are going to be thinner in some places than they are in the other. So if you just let it kind of turn free periodically, give it squeeze open, squeeze open, squeeze open, it'll keep it more centered. Okay. If I didn't already mention this, grip work is dirty work. All right, so we need to always be test fitting these. Like I said, we don't want to overbore it. Every blank's different, so with this one, I have a feeling we still have quite a ways to go. But let's see how far it goes down the blank. Okay, so we've got a good ways to go. We're trying to get it down here to the butt, so we definitely got some more to go. But it's much better to keep test fitting and take it down little by little rather than just go crazy and overbore it, and then you gotta start building it up with arbors. So I stepped it up to the next size reamer. Double check my mark. Give it another test fit. I think we still might have to go one more step up. Let's go ahead and give it a test. Okay, we're getting closer. Like I said, I don't think we're gonna have to go all the way down. So this is when we are really gonna try and take it down little by little and start test fitting on the blank again. Okay, a little closer still, but we still got a little ways to go. The other thing I like to do, because sometimes the taper on those reamers is not necessarily the taper of the blank. So I like to wiggle each end, and I like to see which end am I hanging up on. This one is actually pretty snug throughout, so the reamer in this case is going to be very close to the taper of the blank. It seems like sometimes you get a wiggle in the front end and not in the back end, and then in that case, you kind of like use your hand and just keep a little more pressure on the end that needs it as you're shaping it, as you're reaming it. Just helps it a little bit. We definitely don't want the front end of this grip, the tip side of this grip, to be loose. Let's take it down a little bit more. I'm just doing this a little bit at a time. I want this thing to fit nice and snug. Okay, so with a little bit of pressure, I can get this thing all the way down. We've got no wiggle at the front. We've got no wiggle at the back. So this is actually a real snug fit. I think I'm just going to keep it right there. Butts right up against the butt cap. Looks like we've got nice even spacing around the butt cap. So next, we're going to do the rear grip. All right, just for shits and giggles, let's go ahead and give this a little test fit. As you can see, I've marked on the blank. Maybe you can't see, I used a Sharpie to do it, but I've got marks where my rear grip's going to be, where my fighting butt's going to be, my reel seat, and my foregrip. So that's where my fighting butt's going to sit. Now I can tell you just by visually looking at this, it's not going to fit over that yet. But as I keep saying, it's better to test fit than ream. So yeah, we definitely got a ways to go. Yeah, we still got another just a couple inches. So I am just gonna give this thing a little love tap with that with the large diameter reamer. Okay, this blank has a carbon weave over a section of it, which is actually just a slightly larger diameter than the bottom of the rod. But once it gets over that, it wants It wants to move easier, but that is good. I like that. It's nice and snug. It took just a little bit of oomph to get it there, not too much. I'm not stretching out the cork rings or anything. I'm not going to squeegee out the epoxy. That's going to rest real nice right there. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and just set our reel seat on there. Now this reel seat actually might need to be reamed out a little bit. So, yeah, we're gonna give this reel seat just the slightest little ream because it rests right there. Like I said, this reel seat is an exposed blank reel seat, like I said in the previous video. So we don't use arbors in this reel seat. We don't build up any arbors. It actually has molded arbors inside the seat, little plastic arms coming out from the structure of the seat that will rest on the blank. So because we're not building up arbors, these things have to sit flush with that blank in the right spot. So what we're going to do, we're going to see which of our reamers is going to let it go through that seat. And then we're just going to give it a little ream itself. Okay, so that's where it sits on this reamer. Once we do this, we're probably going to have to clean up the exposed blank area a little bit, a little X-Acto knife. No biggie. Doesn't take much. Okay. Oof. Boy, it doesn't get no more snug than that. Okay, that is about perfect. Okay. So now let's do the foregrip. If at any point you feel like this stuff's getting too hot, give it a break because these reamers are fiberglass. When they get too hot, I can show you exactly what happens. They will snap. So better to wait and let it cool off than find yourself unable to finish the task. Okay, that is nice. Okay, so there we've got the entire grip is all done. We've got the butt cap, we've got the fighting butt, we've got the rear grip, and we've got the reel seat, and we've got the foregrip. So before we glue these things up, I'm going to add a couple winding checks, remove the decal, and clean up this edge of this seat just a tiny bit, and then we'll get her glued up.